That's the slowest one. What's up, everybody? If you are joining, please say hey in the chat. Start rolling in about 7 minutes, I guess. 5 minutes, depending on your clock. Got 2 Twitches, a YouTube starting to come together. I guess I'll bring in my Vdb, get this all set up. Hey, Blair, what's up, man? Blair, what time is it where you are? It's like a day and a half ahead, isn't it?
A day and a half ahead.
Aren't you like a time traveler? Census, I see you. Justin Crowell on Periscope. Cool. So as you guys roll in, we'll just be a couple minutes. What's up, Census? 1:30 p.m. there. Man, that's crazy. Casey V, best thumbnail for the video. Liam looking confused and frustrated. Yeah, that's about accurate. Serge, what's up, dude? Nice pumpkin. On Friday in the future. Yeah, so that's crazy. Sometimes, Blair, I think you know Ben. What's his last name? Ben Buchanan. Because he's part of School of Motion. Sometimes when I'm talking to him, he's like, yeah, I've been up for like 2 days considering what time it is your time, because it's always like 5 in the afternoon when I'm talking to him. So we'll just roll in a minute. Brochin graphics. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to switch into this while we're waiting. It's not just my giant face. Can probably slide my camera this way a little more. There we go. A little bit more centered, maybe. Yeah, man, those NodeFast competition graphics look awesome. If I had the money to fly to Australia, I would totally go.
What are those? I saw that video.
Blair can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think the NodeFest graphics are a competition that they run every year, and anyone that's in New Zealand and Australia can submit. And it's basically how they form their title graphics. So instead of just hiring a studio like they do for various events, they let pretty much anyone that lives in the area submit. What's up, Mark? Oh, hi, Mark.
Not getting any audio?
Not getting audio.
Sure. I've got audio on YouTube.
Is anyone else not getting audio? Mark, are you happen to just like have your speakers down maybe? One for pros and one for students. Redshift prizes. That's awesome. And Blair was just telling me he just bought 3 licenses of Redshift. Audio is super quiet. All right, hold on. I'll turn up a little bit. See if that helps some. Audio is fine. Audio is good on YouTube. Maybe try and crank. Yeah, because when I'm talking in, I'm just a little bit below peak, so it should be coming through fine.
It's a little bit better here now.
Better. All right, let me
Push it a little bit more.
I'll do like 110. All right, how about that, everybody? Doing good. Picking me up better. Are you going to create some MF motion soon? Yeah, dude. Just making sure everybody's in here. We're a couple minutes early. But I'll get this rendering so you have something to look at, since I've got the VDB loaded in, and I'll talk about it in a second. I had someone show me another way to do the color based on actual Kelvin, but I don't have that map up at the moment, but I can kind of talk about it too. All right, Mark, are you hearing me better now, dude? If you hit me up in the chat. So, if you got to watch the tutorial, this is kind of going to be a mini run through of the same thing. Basically, just how to get started with a Redshift volume, and then we can talk about whatever you guys want. I also did a wet roads tutorial because that was what I was originally going to do, but then I had already done this. And I forgot about the wet roads tutorial, so I can open that up too if you guys want to see how to make a quick wet road, kind of like the Octane tutorial that Locked and Loading did. Blanking on his name at the moment. Yeah, David Brodeur. So anyway, to start working with just like an actual volume, not a volume environment, you can get a Redshift volume, and it will create an object over here. I'm going to delete that one, and you bring it in just like you bring in anything else. If it's an individual one, like Mitch Myers has his packs of just individual ones, or if you have a sequence like I have here, this is an actual animated sequence. Chrome was freaking out. Good. That's good to hear, Mark. What's up, G Bowden? So you can use either. When you first bring it in, it's not going to do anything if it's an animation, and I'll talk about that in a second. You actually have to turn on some animation stuff. But down here under display, this is where you get to see some of your render view options. So when it first comes in, it's probably going to be something like 10, and you'll just get a few dots in here. You can crank that up to whatever you want, and it'll start to make the shape. And then this prune threshold is kind of just pruning. So you can see if I pull it back, you'll get some more details in here, which are just like fall off things. If I go up higher, it'll start to eat away at it. And it's mostly just to keep your viewport fast. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that up. And then down here we have all the information that comes in with VDB. So it's density, which is usually smoke information, temperature, which is usually color and heat. There's also a heat tag sometimes, so if you're working in Houdini or Turbulence FT, you'll have all these channels that you can choose to export with your VDB. And then also velocity information, and that controls the motion blur stuff up here. So if I were to actually render this out and have my motion blur turned on, everything in here, then this would actually take the data that came in with the VDB, apply it in the X, Y, and Z for the voxels, and you'd get your motion blur. And then over here, under animation, which I was talking about, since this is an animated sequence, let me pull this up for you guys. You can choose, like most everything, a simple one, a looping one, which means at the end of all of its frames, it'll start from 0 or 1. This starts at 1, so that's why it's got this start frame of 1. And then ping pong, of course, goes to the end and then plays back in reverse and ping pongs back and forth. So we just leave it on simple, and then when you bring it in, you can hit detect frames and it'll get all this information for you. I exported this out of Houdini, so it started on frame 1 instead of frame 0. I'm not sure why it's not bringing in frame 0. There is one, it's just not detecting it for whatever reason. And then just some more display stuff down there. So that's about it. The one thing I should note is that you won't see a VDB when you bring it in. You have to have some volume material on it. So I'm going to throw this one on. This is the one I made for the tutorial that was recorded the other day, and this is the one that I made before, but I'm just going to make a whole new one and walk you guys through it. So really quickly, you just grab a material. I'm going to rename this to new so we know what we're working with. Throw it on the volume, And you'll see we're not getting anything, and that's because we need to throw some information in here. So I'm going to dock material editor right there, open this up, and you'll see this channel information that we were getting from here. So we can start bringing in this information. So like I said, density is going to be smoke. As soon as I bring that in, you'll see we start getting some smoke in here. It's just got to load it up. And so that's that. For our emissions, which is going to be the color, we're going to do temperature. Make sure I spell that right. And you're going to see it's not going to do anything. It's actually just going to get really bright and blown out because we haven't set any colors. But you can see all this fire information that's come in. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, I was shown a technique of how to use actual Kelvin to start doing this and using like these the interpolation knots and all that, and like cubic bias and things like that. I don't have that up at the moment, but if you guys want that, just shoot me an email or get in the Slack, and I'll find that information for the screenshot of how to do it. But basically you just want to make this look like fire. So fire usually has like a red base, goes all the way up to white, and then there's usually like yellow orange that we get to work with. I'm going to switch to RGB so I can really get that yellow. And bring this in tight. So you can start to play with that. So what everything else is going to be is just kind of like a game of figuring out how much scatter you want for your smoke and how much of the light it's absorbing, how bright you want your emissions to be. And you can tune all that through here. So if I bring this down, you'll see the smoke starts to scatter less. If I bring it up, it will scatter more. A second. It's catching up. VDBs can get a little bit heavy, so just forewarning, be patient. It's not that Redshift will crash, it's just processing a lot of data. Bring up this absorption a bit so then we can get some of this detail of our smoke brought back in. I'm going to bring the scatter down some too. And we'll go ahead and just make this like 5. And so pretty quickly you can start dialing in your settings to get the VDB to look how you want. And like I said, there's definitely a scientific way to do it, just getting all the colors where they're supposed to be and all that. I just don't have that information on me at the moment. And here you can really fine tune the data that came in and then how it gets clamped. So this is like remapping the density and smoke data. So if I wanted to say from 0 to 1 for how it came in, I actually want to clamp that. Then I can go down like this. And then it gets remapped to these parameters. So 1 relates to 0.15 here. So as I scale that up, the ratio is a lot stronger. So we get a lot of that smoke detail coming through if you want it to be really smoky and poofy. And then we can do the same for emissions, but it's a little bit backwards. So you'll see as I bring this down, it's going to get really bright. So if I bring it up, it'll start to get dark. So it kind of looks a little bit volcanic right there. And then I'm going to just start to slide this up a little bit. And this is also where you'll control voxelization too. So if you find out, yeah, it does kind of look like a fume effects. So if you have voxelization in here and the details kind of getting jagged, let me see if I can jump to a spot. I think it's like frame 60, right about in there. This starts to break and you can start to see some voxelization detail, which are like those cubes. Let's see if that shows up. So I've clamped it enough that it's not really doing it. Let me see if I can get that back for you guys. Usually if I mess with this, it's just killing the color. Starting to get there. Sometimes if I bring this up too, there we go. So like, see all these squares and cubes right here? That's called voxelization. Just how 3D objects are mapped, especially simulations like fluid and smoke and fire. You can think of a voxel like a 3D pixel. So it's just X, Y, and Z coordinates. So if you ever have voxelization like that, you can help clear that up by coming into these advanced settings and really fine-tuning them. So you can see we get these details back in here. And then I can pull this back down, start to bring the fire back, go back down this way. Starting to get a little bright. And so that's where you can start to play with all that and fine tune it. And then if I were to, I don't know if I don't have the render preview loaded, but if I were to play it through from the beginning, I'll just click through. You'll see it'll have its little burst right down here. And I'll click on the last, or close to the last frame. You'll see it would have all that information played. So there's that little start of a explosion. You can see a little bit of light in there and some smoke. And then I'll just click through almost to the end here so you can get an idea. It would all kind of go up. Maybe. Just taking its time with the VDB. And so that's that. So this is just kind of like a big fireball. And there's some of that voxelization again that I was mentioning. So you can come in and really nitpick away at all this. It's probably that there's just a little too much information in here. So that starts to clean up a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much getting started with VDBs, especially in animation. I can just throw in a standard. Hey, what's up, Milstead? I can throw in just like a standard one here really quickly. And this VDB doesn't have any channels, it says. That doesn't make sense. Let me find another one. Should have at least density. Is it because I have animation going? There we go. It's because I had animation checked. So you can see it's still using the same material that we had before. It's just applying it to this, and this is one of Mitch Meyer's smoke ones. You can see that because I'm in progressive, I'm getting like a little bit of fireflies when I move around, but they clear up pretty well if I just turn on bucket rendering. It's really focusing on this area. There we go. So this one already rendered. And so that takes care of the fireflies really quick. So if you're working with this and you have progressive on, just double check it with your bucket render settings and you'll probably see that all your fireflies go away. It's just not getting enough data from your render settings, like right there. How would you go about tracking VDBs with other objects? I mean, that's kind of like more of a tracking question for like general C4D usage. So you would probably track it like you would a normal track and then start lining it up and pinning your Redshift volumes in there, because just like any other object, it's going to respond. So if I put a, where's constraint tag? I think it's under character constraint. Yep. Let me just throw a sphere in here. Say like 10. Even that's really big. I should also say, while I'm thinking of this, VDBs can't be scaled just through normal scale like this. And the way you do that is under your coordinates. You can do like 3 by 3 by 3 and start to scale it up that way. So just keep that in mind. I'm just trying to be light and quick. So you can see I've got this constraint tag right here. Let's say I want to parent it to this sphere. It should do it, right? So there we go. So if you were tracking, you would do the same thing. You would just track it and then constrain it however you want, or put it in the scene however you want. But it's going to react the exact same way. There's nothing special about the Redshift volume except that, or like object-wise, except that Redshift reads it and Cinema 4D doesn't, but it still reacts like an object. So you see this black box, or these black lines for this box here. That's just Redshift's way of interpreting an object. So there we go. Any other questions? Did I miss maybe? I think most of what you guys were talking about before was just like general audio stuff. Doot. Yeah, it looks like that's that. How much does Redshift cost? It's $500. Actually, hold that thought. It's $500 if you buy it through Redshift, but if you go to like toolfarm.com and you use high 5, that's like their running coupon code, you get 5% off whatever you have. So you just go get it for, what is that, $475? Is that the math? 500 times 0.95. Yeah, $475. So Toolfarm, how many VDBs does it come with? It doesn't come with any. The one that I made in Houdini, and then the other ones, like this one here, is done by Mitch Myers, who I believe he made it in Houdini and exported it the same way. So you would have to either buy them, or there's a ton of free ones. Vdb is an open source language, so there's a lot of free ones. Matt, I don't have TFD, so I thought, do I want to spend $200 on TFD, or do I want to spend $200 on Houdini? So I got Houdini instead. Figured it would be more useful to me. Sorry, dude. I have X particles, but that's not going to make a VDB at this point, unfortunately. Now what I can show you is I can just do like a quick scatter and show you how fast instances can be, maybe. Just do quick emitter and do this object. Do points. Reset this to 0. Cool, so that's emitting right, and then just want a single shot. Which makes Bon Jovi shoot into my head for some reason. Can you scatter? Yeah, I can scatter VDBs. I'll do that. Man, it's been a long time since I've had to just stick particles. There it is. My eyes were not working for me. All right, so we've got all these particles right there. I should have just done a full system. There we go. Emitters, group. All right, and then let me bring in another VDB. So we'll start that there. Grab Mitch's again. Don't need to copy it. And we'll throw this on there. Figure out where it is in the scene. There. I'm going to go ahead and make this like 5 by 5 by 5. There we go. So we get that smoke in there. And let me bring in a dome light. Do like 0.05 for the volume. Get that map on there. Figure out something. Let's do a Pro Studio. Boom. All right. And turn off the background. All right, cool. So we've got our smoke right there. think all I need to do is just get a generator, and we will do emitter there, and Redshift Volume, put it, nope, not on the emitter, generator, and those are really small, so I will go ahead, it's up to like 25 by 25 by 25. I may have to just adjust it in my particle group. I don't know if it's going to take which one. Let's see. Thinking about it. All right, I think I have to adjust it in particle group. I did over 9,000 VDBs. Yeah, I did. It was a while ago. I think David was watching. All right, I think I'm gonna have to scale it in my group. I think that's where it's picking it up from. Let's see, radius. Try 50. All right, I'm gonna turn off my generator for 1 second. Not sure why it's not picking up the scale. Hit play on this. Turn my generator back on. All right, well, yep, I'm pretty certain you have to get the scale from your group, but you can see down here, we've got all these right there. And then if I were to, say, have a bunch more divisions in here and segments, then of course, you know, it would be that many more. So let's try and break this. Let's go ahead. Let's do like 100 by 100. I'll turn off the generator, hit play again. So we've got a lot more in there this time. So there we go. I think you can even do create instances and it will still pick them up. Yep, cool. So that's good. And then using particle scale. So it's using, okay. That's why it's, I'm gonna just set scale. About like 20 by 20 by 20. And we'll do 10 by 10 by 10 in the variation. Let's see how that goes. Might have to reload the scene. Oh, yeah, I was doing too much at once. All right, that's all right. We'll load this back up. I can show you with cloners how fast you can do multiple VDBs, but if you go back and look at, man, like somewhere between the first and third stream, you can see, I mean, I want to say we did like 10,000 VDBs or something crazy like that. And it would not bring Redshift down. We're also not streaming at 4K. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Let me check my CPU is only at 17%, so it should be able to handle it. We'll try this one more time. Cloner is what I want. Bring in volume. Put it. What did I do? I think I did a grid array. That's how we did it before, right? Oh, it's because I'm in flat tree mode. All right, there we go. So we've got this grid array there. Grab a VDB. Go ahead and make a volume. Oh, while it's starting. There we go. And open this up. And we'll just put density. Quick little dome light. Hit play. Let's see if those show up. Probably not because the white background. Let's do something quick. There we go. All right. sure animation's off. Good, good. So we'll just do like 10 by 10 by 10. I think I need to also make sure I have contribution on for this. All right, I want to do render instances, and we'll just do 20 by 20 by 20. See what we can get going here. I did put it in density, right? Did I spell it right? Density. Yeah. Bring in a regular light, see if that helps out.
You're my density.
Reload this scene. Come on. What are you thinking about, Redshift? Just all those? Just being weird about this VDB. Let me grab another one. Interesting. Well, let's just see one. I'll see one. Doesn't want to see a bunch of them. Is it because I had instances on? I thought last time we did it, it worked with instances. Might be shooting myself in the foot a little bit. Pretty certain the last time we did it, it was instances. Maybe because fixed clone is on. Let's turn that off. Scanning scene. Just thinking about it. Oh yeah, I think the fixed clone was doing it. You can see it's preparing volume objects this time. Whoa. All right, audio back. Good. Skype hates me now though, but I think looking at the chat, I see audio got lost, but I can see my mic's picking up again. So let me know. Sorry about that. I think the difference really is that I'm streaming in 4K instead of whatever it was, 2K before the ultra wide. All right, cool. Audio's back. Cool, Dave. I'm gonna try and just hook up Skype again really quick, see if it will call you back. Skype is kind of hating life at the moment and not wanting to open. All right, cool. We're gonna just fly by the seat of our pants with this. So back to this here. I want to tone this down too. Don't need so many samples in here. All right. You know what? Let's look at doing wet maps since I never released that. So not wet maps, wet roads. I don't want anyone to get too excited. All right. So we've got this loaded up in here. I'll just go ahead and hit play. Today I learned scattering Vdb. It really doesn't bomb your system. I promise. Casey, go back and look. Like episode 2 of the stream, maybe first one. It was really early on, and we did it. We had so many cloners going. I think it's like right now as this is loading, my CPU just jumped up to like 40%, and that's just loading in this scene. So I have a feeling it's something to do with that. Yeah, I know you're joking. So anyway, if you've seen David Brodeur's tutorial on Grayscale Gorilla on how to make a wet map, kind of recreated that. I haven't recorded an official tutorial yet, just because the Vdb thing took over. But just to give you an Aussie, I didn't know you were an Aussie. Damn, dude. A lot of people from down that way. So this looks really complicated. It's not. It's just a lot of little like triplanar things going on in here, and that adds in all these extra nodes. So let's go ahead and walk backwards. I'm gonna zoom in on this just so I can see my points a little better. Man. All right, so this is just dry road, and I'm going to turn off this too so I don't have any depth of field going on. And this is either from Polygon or Megascans. I think this is probably from Megascans. Let me see. Can read. Yeah, this is from Megascans. So it's just like a pavement road. And so all this hooked in here is a diffuse going into a triplanar. And what that does is it just smooths out the edges, so any loops and things like that happen in here, all the seams are gone. And then this is AO, which I learned I have been doing wrong. You're supposed to multiply it together with the diffuse, which I have not been doing. So that goes in there. And this is going to go in here. Like that. And you know what? I think it's... I'm so used to Houdini now. I think it's because... There we go. So it gets a little bit more detail. So what's this? Cinnamon 4D. Yeah, this is Cinnamon 4D. What's up, Chad? You're actually joining in. So Chad, you might appreciate this. I'm kind of recreating your wet maps. And by yours, I mean David's. Because somebody asked me the other day on another tutorial. But man, I am honored that you're in this, Chad. That's awesome. So just breaking this down a little bit, again, diffuse, ambient occlusion. This is all from Megascans, or you could do the same thing from Polygon or wherever you want to get your textures from. Just a roughness piped into here. Just using a bunch of triplanars, nothing crazy. So where it starts to get fun is when you start to mix these together. And if you're coming from Octane, it's very similar to using a mix material in there. It's called the RS, so Redshift Material Blender. You can think of this as Octane's mix material, except it's got a lot more options. You can have 6, and you can choose if it's additive, and it's a lot more fun to work with. You're on your phone too. The future is now. That's crazy. I'm going to have to send your kids some more ice cream. So here's our blender. And the way this is set up is you get your base material. And you can see we've got this base here for pavement piped into it. And we've got our wet one down here, which I've had folded up. And what the wet one is kind of just a copy of our first one. I don't have any cool key commands set up like Chad does in his streams to connect these. I'll pipe that in right there. The only difference is I've just got the diffuse color in there because all I really want is the diffuse color. and then the bump maps in there. And then if we go into our base properties, you'll see I just have it on a little bit right in here, and then I'm really messing with the reflection. So it's just a good bit of weight on reflection. If I crank this up, so it gets super glossy. If I bring it back down, we start to lose that. So you can really do some fine control in there. And then we're gonna mix that together in this blender. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect this back to where we had it at the beginning. And you'll see in here I've got a displacement map too that's giving us some nice nooks and crannies, as if we were watching or eating English muffins, whatever those things are called. All right, so the way we're getting this texture in here is I've got this noise, and it's set to fractal right now, but you've got 3 settings. You can do turbulence or cell. So if I change it to cell, you'll see we get a different pattern. If I change it to turbulence, we'll get a different pattern. I'm kind of liking that turbulence one, and then fractal is which we had it at. And then it goes right into this blend color here. And I have it set to additive, so that way it really starts to mix these two together and add them together. Otherwise, whites and blacks are 0s and 1s. So instead of adding it together, it's just saying on or off, and everything in between is like that gray area. So a little bit on, a little bit off, but additive actually adds it together. And so this ramp that I've gotten here is kind of controlling how all this noise is coming through and how hot it is in certain areas. So you see that I have this black here, this gray here. If I adjust it, you'll get these splotches moving around. I've even got a little bit of noise in here. But if I pull these out, let's just do black and white, you'll see we start losing some of that detail, so that's why I had that in there the way I did. And as we slide it around, we'll start to see hot and cold spots appear. So like really wet areas and really dry areas. I'm going to slide this back some more. And so now we start to get some just glossiness. As I spread it out, it starts to feather back in some of these areas. So I like having a little bit more control with just like some grays in here. So like 15%. And then I can slide this about and get some like little ringlets in there. Probably 15 is a little too light. Let's try 35. So as I move through the scene, if I turn on my undersampling, probably 2 is going to be okay. You can see we get all these splotches throughout right here. You can see them fading off over here. And over here too. And so really from that point on, it's just a game that you want to play. So how much noise do I want to add in? So if I add in some more noise, you can see some more splotches appearing in here. If I pull it back, it'll get really refined. If we go this way here, you'll see the frequency comes up, so we get some more hot points in here, and then some more just like subtle points in there. So you can do a lot just with a noise node right here being your blending option. And the rest is just setting it up how you want. So if I go into this wet one and I bring back the reflection, that will give me even more control. So these reflections won't be so hot. Or if I want them even hotter and like super reflective, I'll just get rid of the roughness. So in these areas up here, you can see they get really shiny. If I go back to this original camera setup, so we've got this depth of field set up in here. You can see right in these areas and these areas in here that they start to get really glossy. So bring this back. We can start to adjust our noise some more, maybe not so much complexity. And then in the remap, we can bring this back up just a little bit. And so back here, you can see it gets really glossy and wet. And then as we get closer, we just have like some of these puddles in here. And because we have a displacement map affecting everything, if we get really low on here, try and get as low as I can without going under. I think my depth of field might be a little too high, but you can see in these areas where there's still some, let me just turn this off. So in these areas where the cracks are, the water actually dips into there, or the quote unquote water, the shine, because of that displacement map. So pretty easy. So if you want to break this down into like 3 steps, start with like a dry texture. So if this is just like concrete or pavement, and we'll replace that here. Turn off this camera too. So I've got exposure settings going on it too. And then you want to do a wet one, which is just kind of a copy and paste of this, except I've focused on reflection. And then piped it into this blender. So I guess it's really 4 steps. And then blending in between is that noise. I'll take your okay as solid news, Casey. All right. So what time are we at? It is 9:40. So we covered Vdb Is a bit, covered this fun little thing. We made my system crash too with Vdbs. So what else should we do tonight, guys? We've got about 20 minutes to just kind of mess around and try and make my system crash again. If there's anything else that you've watched and I've missed in tutorials or questions, I'll just go check my channel really quick and see. But feel free to ask them again. Let's see. I'm trying to write them down as I go, but I haven't really gotten that many from the last tutorial that was up. So, scrolling down. I think I answered this already. Somebody asked what a Vdb is. It's just open source C++ tool. So specifically for fire and smoke and volumetric stuff. So that way, if you're working with Arnold, Octane, Redshift, all that, it looks the same no matter where you're working. Also between regular 3D applications. So if you're in Maya or 3ds Max or Houdini or Cinema 4D like we are here, then it all reads the same. Just checking to see if there's any other questions in my comments that maybe I've missed. Let's see. I think there's one came up the other day on the materials. So cover multi-shader. Okay, so I kind of just did that a little bit. Subsurface scattering, we did that already in a tutorial. Cool. All right, let me go back to the chat and see. Have you tried to make a Redshift proxy and send it to a Maya user? I have not. I've heard it works though. I've heard that is actually something that you should be able to cross them over just fine. I don't know. Is anyone here a Maya user? And I can just send you one really quick. We can test it out. That's a really good question. I don't have Maya loaded. Man, I wish Houdini Mark was here because I'm pretty certain he does Maya. Dave or Matt, if you're still in the chat or listening, hey, what's up, Billy? No worries, dude. You usually show up around this time anyway. Plus, you're building that awesome mech, so no worries. But Dave or Matt, try and ping Houdini Mark and see if he has a copy of Maya, because I'm pretty certain he does. And we should send him a Redshift proxy and see if he can open it. We can answer that question, because that's a good question. As far as I know, let me open up a Redshift proxy. Proxies. As far as I know, they're like advanced Alembic files. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out of here. And I can pull back on this. It's just processing the textures. It's a pretty heavy level of detail, so the textures might be a little bit. There we go. So there's our tree. All right, so here's this proxy right here. If you guys haven't seen what a proxy is, it just go from C4D to H, should be the same thing as C4D in Maya. Okay, so man versus machine sends RS proxies back and forth to Houdini quite a bit. Cool. All right, so Chad's got the answer, and Billy also is chiming in. So you can do it from Houdini, so you should be able to do it with Maya. But from the way that I can interpret a proxy, it seems like it's an advanced Alembic file. So here's one here, and it holds animation data. It makes your scenes really lightweight. Chad just did a live stream about it yesterday, and then we did one, I don't remember when. So if you want to learn about it, there's quite a few little videos floating around, but they're really easy to make. And let's just say I want to turn this plane into one. You can go to export and then Redshift Proxy. And you can export an entire scene or just selected objects, and then everything that goes with it: lights, polygon connectivity, compress the data, if it's world origin or object bound, for where the proxy is, and then you can choose to add to the scene, what the prefix is going to be, any AOVs, and then animation, just like an Alembic file. So that's why I think they kind of are playing off the Alembic file a little bit here. Send it to him on the Brograph Slack. Okay. I can. I'll test it afterwards because Chad already answered the question. But so I'm gonna say that it is possible since Man vs. Machine does it through Houdini and C4D. But anyway, this is a really high detail model. It's carrying all the texture data and everything, so it should be the same between Maya and C4D. So if you're working on a team that is using Maya and you're on C4D, or if you've got a Houdini side of your team and you're on Maya or Cinema 4D, then it seems like you would probably be pretty set to just share it. So what else? Billy, what are you up to, man? You usually have a question or idea of something that won't bring down my scene or my computer. But we kind of already took care of that tonight. Fun fact. Oh, they don't hold tessellation. Interesting. That is a fun fact. So I just deleted this out of here. So that makes me wonder. So then, I guess that why would you need to override tessellation displacement? If it just doesn't bring it in anyway, you don't really need to override it. I guess that's kind of just like throwing an object tag on it and saying override as well. So maybe you just don't need an object tag then to add more displacement. Is that how that would work? I guess that's how that's supposed to work. That's interesting. All right, so got all that. Clear this out. I guess I should announce now too, next week, while we're waiting if anyone's got any questions, I am most likely not going to do a tutorial or a live stream. Brograph is going to release a new Octane tutorial next week, and then also do a live stream next week. However, it may be a double play next week. It kind of depends on what my schedule's like. So there may be another Redshift tutorial and a live stream, but it's most likely going to be just a Octane tutorial and Octane live stream. I think we might start alternating back and forth. Octane might be on a different night though, so just keep your eyes peeled on Brograph Twitter. But otherwise, the following week it will go back to normal. I'm out of ideas tonight. Been hopping in a car all day, and my brain is fried. Yeah, and aren't you supposed to be like at your job right now, Billy? Maybe you're at your job right now. Let me see if there's anything cool I can show you guys that I've done recently. You know what? Let's talk about depth of field really quick and how to set that up, because I don't think I've talked about that. I'm just going to throw in a plane. Turn this off for a second. We'll just set this up. And we'll get a cube here. And we'll do another one here. Oh, Corona stuff too. So there we go. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for coming by, dude. That's awesome. Glad you got to watch on your phone. All right, so what are we doing? We're doing a Redshift Camera just to talk about depth of field a little bit. And so we'll turn this on, start rendering our scene again. So immediately there's nothing really happening. And that's because C4D will use, Redshift will use Cinema 4D's built-in focus distance. So let's say we just want to focus on this cube right here. Nothing's going to happen there either. And that's because we need to go into what's called bokeh, or sometimes called bokeh. It depends on who you talk to and where you are in the world. You can call it buku for all I care, whatever. But I like to call it bokeh. And you just hit enable, and immediately you can kind of see it gets added in right there, because it's already picking up the information from right here. And if I want to bring that back just a little bit, and you can start really having some fun. Hi, Mark. Jeez. So with like the radius and power and aspects. So aspect's going to be like anamorphic lens. So like a 0.56 is close to anamorphic. And if we had a bunch of lights back here, we would get cool anamorphic lens flares. That's what I'm trying to say. And then you can adjust our radius of that. So I'm going to do like 0.125, just go up a little bit more. And then power, of course, is power. And you can see it gets blown out a little bit more. And if you mess with your exposure settings, just like you would with a normal camera, and bring your f-stop down, well, it's going to get brighter. You're going to get a lot more depth of field. I don't really want to talk about that right now. So very easily, you can start to control your depth of field, and you can animate it too. So if you want to have, say, this start here, and then by the time we get to frame, say 72, we can have it go here. And so we get this front depth of field going on, just like that. If I play through it, you can see still, now it's switching in between, so they're both a little bit out of focus. So hit pause. Now this one's out of focus. And that's it. Yeah, Billy, hit us up with the link in the chat, because I know you know it off the top of your head. But Pentax Forms has some really great bokeh textures, and then I've just been making my own. You can make your own very easily. So all it is 3 rings, so like RGB as they combine to make white. And then as you adjust these rings, you can transform them to look more like an actual aperture. That's how you get distortions. So if I plug this in here, and do I want to? No, I don't need to make a copy. You can see it starts to get. Oh, you know what? I put it in my distortion. I meant to put it in my bokeh. There we go. No. So it will adjust your color too, and then you have to change it to match. So there's white some. But you can see right in here, I get a little bit of chromatic abrasion happening. And then if I switch down to here, it comes forward. So you can make your own. And then if I plug in another one, let's say this one here. And same deal. This one's not nearly as intense because mine's specifically warped. Yeah, Miguel, that would be awesome. Dude, I think there is definitely a market for that. So gumroad that stuff, dude. This is a really cool one that I got off the MDA Slack. If I just go down to unit intensity, you get kind of this nice purple. I can do none and it gets kind of dark. And then if I go back here. So something to think about is if you use one of these images, this power thing, this power slider, not just thing, I have real words, I promise, doesn't affect anything. So you have to start using your radius to really start making a difference. And then, of course, your aspect ratio. But as I blow this up, you can start to see that chromatic abrasion here. So blues and reds and some yellows in there and everything. I actually have never messed with distortion because, you know, I haven't needed to, but throw this in here. Yeah, so that's not really giving me what I expect. This is usually what happens when I try something in the distortion is it just gets weird. Shutter blades, usually there's like something like 15. You can set their angle. So what is 360 divided by 15 would be 24. I guess it would be 0.24 for this, sort of, even though it's out of 1. Yeah, like Billy's saying, the Pentax one has, man, like I think the first page alone has close to like 500 or something. I don't know. Distortion is for lens bulge map. Ah, okay. I did not know that. So would that be like just feathering around here? Hey, HP 2009. You just followed me on YouTube, I think, or Twitter the other day. I recognize your name because I was like Hewlett Packard 2009, or maybe Harry Potter 2009, or whatever. I don't know. Anything that has to do with HP, you can tell me, dude. But hey, I definitely recognize your name, man. Takes in a normal map. Gotcha. Cool. I've never tried to do anything except for like plugging lenses in there, thinking that's what you're supposed to do. So that's cool. The more you know. I don't know. It's getting late for me, at least, because I have kids. So I'm going to go back down to like 1.25. So that's how you do that. You know what? Just for giggles, I really want to try and get multiple VDBs working again. Slack DM me what the grid looks like. Boom, boom, Billy. Let's bring up a website. Maybe? Chrome is being weird. That's all right. They're specific to match a lens in real life. Cool. What about an alpha matte as a sticker or label? Have you... Somebody just commented
What's up, everybody?
on that. Okay, so Stephen Mayer, if you're watching, dude, I just saw that. What about an alpha map as a sticker or label? Have your base shader as base shader, then add a shader or matte on top of that. Yeah, you could totally do that. You could have like a white matte and then add whatever you want on top of that. That's another way to do it. For whatever reason, Billy, your link did not open in... Oh, there we go. Cool. So... All right, I'll keep that in mind for next time. So I see what's happening. You can easily create this in just Photoshop too. Cool. I'll keep that in mind. All right, I'm determined to make my computer maybe crash again. I just want to see if I can get VDBs to work one more time in a cloner. So, Redshift Volume, going in the cloner. Let's go get a VDB, Megapack, Nebula. Boom. Don't need to create a copy. Just need a material. I don't know why I'm talking this way. It's fun though. And lights. Dome light. Link. Too bad Chad's not watching anymore. Give him props on HDR link. Throw that in there. Turn off the background. Add a little bit to the volume. All right, and just need to make sure we have this saying density. Cool. All right, they're starting to show up. I see them. They're small. All right, so I'm going to turn up our exposure to 1. Just get a little bit more. I'll pull this out of here. Make this like 5 by 5 by 5. Cool. All right, we're doing it, guys. We're doing it. It's happening. All right. Grid array. Boom. So we've got those in there. I go ahead and hit render instances. Ah, so it isn't liking render instances this time. That's weird. That's all right. It doesn't need to be an instance. That's cool. Whatever. Let's do random. I don't know why it matters because we don't have any other ones. And all right, so let's try 50 by 50 by. Oh, I was thinking. There we go. This is where it freaks out by 50. Scene. This is where I broke it last time. Arc visualize. I started remaking the Octane tutorial that Matt did about 2 months ago. Oh yeah. I can hear my computer thinking. If I lose audio, guys, I'm sorry. It wants to do it. It's thinking so hard. Stream even hitched for a second. Oh man. I think it's still hitching. It's trying. I'm saying it's still loading this volume. If you guys can hear me, I'm still here. It's still saying loading. It's really trying. Okay, I just hit Control Delete. I'm gonna bring up my task manager. Hopefully I don't lose you guys. Tell Morty I love him. Mr. Poopy Pants. Do it. Just bring up the task manager. Why? Come on, Wacom. Get with it. Man, it like really hates me right now. Okay, I think I got it. I think I got it. We hear you. You hear me? Tell everybody I love them. Tell Mr. Poopy Pants and Morty. All right, I got it. I got my task manager up. I can do it. I can save the stream. I can save the stream. Don't cross the streams. Hack the world. Oh, I got it. I did it. I'm back. Woo! Pickle Rick. Man. All right, so lesson learned. Now that I'm streaming in 4K, can't do that. We might have to change streaming settings later. Yeah, man, I'll totally go down to like 640 by 40. All right. Let's see. Full screen went black. Uh-oh, he broke it. Is that a BSOD? Yeah, it was kind of a blue screen of death. It was a purposeful blue screen of death. Man, my audio's still working this time, though. That's good. All right. So somebody asked a question before my screen started freaking out. ArcViz. Yeah, you know what? I started remaking Matt's scene. What time is it? It's 3 after. I'm going to be really fast about this because I don't want the Brograph guys to wait for me, especially since I can't get on Skype at the moment. It is really freaking out. Did I save it in here? Interior, here we go. All right. So, Redshift. Yeah, I know. I don't have Octane installed. Stop freaking out. Praise be to Paul Babb and Octane Jesus, even though this isn't an Octane stream. So, here we go. I started remaking this scene. It's got some ways to go, but once this comes together, I will certainly do a tutorial. I don't know how far I got in this. Yeah, but so Matt's got a scene set up that he built, which is a whole bookcase and room and everything. Let me just bring that up, and that'll be the easiest. And I'm gonna remake it here in a little bit. By the way, if you haven't gone to the Brograph site recently and you've missed some of our tutorials on Redshift, they are all up there at the moment. And there's even a new Corona one up too. So down here. All right, so Matt has this scene, and I've started remaking it in Redshift. So look for that soon. Mostly it's just a time thing of next week I may be booked up a bit. But if not, it's either going to be this or the wet roads tutorial. GIF is, oh man, what is this GIF? Oh, that's awesome. Can I show that? Oh, well, yeah, I can show it because you put it in the chat. Duh. So this will be the tutorial next week for Octane, is recreating this in Cinema 4D with Octane. Of course, it is Stranger Things, but render things. And Dave showed me a little preview before we started streaming, and it looks pretty awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to do a very last call for questions and everything. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight and watching me bring my computer down twice, or at least one real time and one kind of faux time. It's probably because I kept calling out for Morty and, said I loved him. Hopefully that's why my computer didn't crash. Chad, if you happen to rewatch the rest of this, thanks so much for coming by, dude. That was awesome that you showed up. I'm a little starstruck that you came and watched this stream. That was really cool. And yeah, so normal closing stuff, guys. If you haven't followed us on YouTube, either Brograph or 531, we're putting out Redshift tutorials and doing these streams. On Twitter, it's at Brograph. For me, it's at _ the word 5, FIVE 31. You can go to 531.com or, sorry, 5-31.com. I actually have 531.co, so if you just leave off the M, or Brograph.com, you can see all the tutorials there. Next week, I know Corona tutorials are starting to roll out. A new Octane tutorial is going to be rolling out. So really getting the ball rolling on some new tutorials again. And of course, go check out the new Slack. Man, I forget how many members are up there now. I'm going to say it's like close to 150 over, or 110. It's at 110. It's only been up for a couple weeks. It's really cool. There's an Octane channel, Redshift channel, just a general MoGraph channel talking about everything from Cinema 4D to After Effects to whatever, the industry. There's a business channel if you have questions about freelancing and all that. So again, thanks so much for joining us. This is really fun for me every week. Doesn't matter what we do. I know I always just do a quick review of the tutorial for the week and then just kind of screw around, but I love interacting with you guys and all that. So hopefully we can keep it going. And if I don't see you next week, please tune in for the Octane one whenever that gets set up. And I will see you in 2 weeks, if not next week. So have a great night, everybody. See ya.